Let's make some Guatemalan fried chicken. Come on, let's get started.
Todo queda sabroso.
Here in the States, we have Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes, Bojangles. But when you're in Guatemala, it's Pollo Campero. So Pollo Campero is a hugely popular fried chicken restaurant, which, like the bodegas in New York City, you can find them on almost every street corner. Let's start by cutting up a whole chicken, starting with the wings. Then the leg quarters. And then the breast. This is called the oyster. Save the back for stock. Now separate the thigh from the drumstick, as well as the ends of the wings. Then I like to cut the breast into quarters. So most fried chicken recipes will use what is called a brine. There are two types of brine. One is a dry brine, which is just spices that are added to the chicken and refrigerated overnight. And then there's what's considered a wet brine. And traditionally, a wet brine is what's used for the Pollo Campero. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, now it's time for us to make the flour dredge, and you can come up with your own combination of spices. And there's one ingredient that really separates this dredge from others, and that's the incorporation of MSG. All right, I know what you're gonna say, MSG, but the real reason for MSG and why so many cultures use it is that it provides that umami flavor. Chef, what's umami? Umami is one of the 5 basic tastes, along with saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, and sourness. But umami adds that savory element. And so MSG is added to this dredge to create that umami and give you a total different experience when you're eating this fried chicken. However, I couldn't find MSG, so I thought, okay, what's the next best thing? Mushrooms. Mushrooms also provide that umami flavor. So I took fresh shiitake mushrooms and used my Ninja Foodi air fryer to dehydrate them, which I'll grind into a powder. Now, a lot of recipes will use a seasoning salt like Lowry's, but I'm using Adobo and Sazon, and I'm using Loisa brand. I love using Loisa because it's totally organic, free of preservatives, and it is a wonderful product. Okay, so here I have a Ziploc bag. Okay, to that we're gonna add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. That Loisa Adobo, I'm adding about a tablespoon, and about a 1/2 teaspoon of the sazon, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, a teaspoon of salt. This is to compensate for the MSG, but if you have MSG, just add a teaspoon of the MSG and no salt. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. Here's another ingredient that's going to give it depth of flavor, and that's curry powder, 2 teaspoons. I'm adding achiote powder. You can use paprika, 1/2 teaspoon. A teaspoon of oregano. This is optional, but I like the taste of oregano. For a little spice, we have some cayenne pepper, 1/2 teaspoon. And then last but not least, we have the dried mushroom powder, that shiitake mushroom. This is about 2 teaspoons. And now we're going to close it up, shake it up, making sure all those spices are evenly incorporated throughout the flour. Now we're ready to dredge the chicken. Okay, here we have our marinated chicken that was in the brine. Then we have our dredge. And now we're going to simply dip the chicken into the flour and then just drop it in there Now let's close it up. Then shake off the excess. And now we are ready to fry. Okay, so here I have a cast iron pan filled halfway with canola oil that I heated up to 350 degrees. And now I'm going to start frying my chicken. Okay, so what I like to do is I don't like to finish it in the pan. I like to place it on the sheet tray and then finish it off in the oven. This allows me to keep that nice color without making it too brown. So I'm just going to remove my chicken pieces onto the sheet tray with a screen. And then fry the rest of my chicken pieces. Now let's place this in the oven. Okay, and here's the final product, the Pollo Campero. Look at that, beautiful color. Gotta take a bite. Oh man, when I tell you that is one flavorful piece of chicken and it's juicy. That cayenne adds a little bit of spice along with that curry, which is very earthy, but that dried mushroom powder brings that savoriness, that umami, that makes this fried chicken one of the best I've ever tasted. Buen provecho.